You're listening to the Law Careers Net podcast, a monthly podcast designed to give you everything you need to know about becoming a lawyer.
Hello and welcome back to the Law Careers Net podcast. I'm Dimitar and we're back with another highly requested episode for you today. I'm joined by my colleague Ellie to talk through the key commercial issues shaping 2026. Understanding these kinds of trends is a big part of building your commercial awareness and is something recruiters are increasingly looking for in candidates. Being able to talk confidently about what's happening in the business world and why it matters to clients can really help you stand out in applications and interviews. So we highly recommend you listen to this episode and take notes on what should be on your radar this year as an aspiring lawyer. So Ellie, let's start with geopolitics and trade. There's been a lot happening internationally, so what should we know about how global tensions and shifting trade relationships are affecting businesses this year?
Geopolitical shifts were definitely a major theme in 2025 and will remain a big talking point in 2026. In 2026, tariffs with the US remain an ongoing talking point, and the UK's relationship with the European Union could get a refresh, and this is going to impact the profession in a number of ways. As tariffs continue to change and negotiations between the EU and the US evolve, UK businesses will need lawyers to help them understand new rules. So looking at the US, since the start of his term, US President Donald Trump has imposed tariffs on a wide range of goods. The International Monetary Fund have explained that while the impact of the tariffs has been smaller than expected, ongoing US tariff measures remain a key driver of international instability. The UK has tried to soften the blow for businesses through initiatives like the US-UK Economic Prosperity Deal, but negotiations are very much still in progress, and UK businesses are likely to feel the effect of tariffs for a while. Meanwhile, looking at the EU, the UK's relationship with the EU will remain just as important. The UK government has looked at negotiating a reset in a number of areas, including its animal and plant health agreement, the UK joining the EU's electricity market, and closer emissions trading systems. In terms of how this affects lawyers, the reset means a steady demand for clear practical advice. Businesses are going to need support understanding new regulations and update their policies to keep supply chains running smoothly. So overall, I'd say that it's an area that's going to have a big impact over 2026.
Great, thank you for that. And next up on our list is sustainability and climate. It's been a major priority for years, but where does it sit in 2026? Are businesses still treating sustainability as a central issue?
Many businesses are likely to spend 2026 fine-tuning their approach to sustainability, according to Linklaters. For lawyers, this means helping clients to interpret updated requirements, refine their reporting, and ensure disclosures hold up under pressure. At the same time, businesses are also adapting their products in response to sustainability pressures from customers. So, according to Foot Anstey, more brands are experimenting with circular business models, which prioritizes reusing and recycling. So, for example, IKEA has a buyback and resell program that allows customers to give back furniture in exchange for in-store credit. Lawyers will also need to consider a range of compliance rules as they advise businesses on new sustainability-led initiatives. There's been a number of changes recently to reduce greenwashing. So, for example, the Financial Conduct Authority's 2024 anti-greenwashing guidance requires sustainability claims to be clear and not misleading, while the Economic Crime and Corporate Transparency Act 2024 has introduced strict liability for misleading environmental statements. Elsewhere, the Competition and Markets Authority also has stronger powers under the Digital Markets, Competition and Consumers Act 2024 to directly investigate and fine companies for intentional greenwashing, with penalties of up to 10% of global turnover. This tightening framework means that firms are going to have to play an increasingly preventative and advisory role for businesses.
And we also see a lot of talk about workplace transformation. What's changing in the world of work this year, and what impact is that having on employers and employees?
Aspiring lawyers definitely will have heard about the Employment Rights Act, which received royal assent towards the end of 2025, and it's definitely something that's going to keep employment teams very busy. As changes come through, employers and legal teams are going to need to embed the new requirements into their practices. So a number of changes are going to take effect. In April, new parents will be entitled to leave from day one. Paternity leave will be able to be taken more flexibly. There's going to be changes to statutory sick pay, and these changes are going to require businesses to update contracts and HR systems, which means that firms are going to be closely involved in ensuring clients' processes are compliant. Unions are also getting a lot of attention as rules around strikes are going to tighten with longer notice periods and stricter picketing rules. Plus, later this year, unions are due to gain new rights to workplace access, and this is going to create continued demand for legal advice as employers navigate more complex union relationships, manage potential disputes, and seek to minimize litigation risk. There's also more change coming in October, including tighter limits on fire and rehire and unfair dismissals. Businesses are going to need to therefore plan restructuring a lot more carefully, and that's going to bring together employment, corporate, and insolvency teams to work together more often. Changes to employment laws are expected also to cost more for businesses. Initially, the price was set to higher, but later changes, such as scaling back unfair dismissal plans, cut estimated costs by up to $5 billion annually to around $1 billion per year. As businesses look for ways to manage these cost pressures, perhaps through restructures, benefit changes, or contract reviews, demand for employment law is only set to rise.
Lots of change. And let's turn to the economic outlook. What's the general picture for 2026 and how is it shaping business decision making?
That's a really good question because I think obviously the state of the economy is central to how businesses operate. In terms of the outlook for the coming year, PwC predicts that UK GDP is going to grow by 1.2% in 2026, with inflation peaking at 3.4% before falling below the Bank of England's 2% target to 1.9%. This easing of inflation reflects slower price growth across both services and core goods. In response, the Bank of England is projected to lower interest rates slightly. PwC has also forecasted that the UK will be the third fastest growing G7 economy, with strong opportunities emerging in IT, manufacturing, and the creative industry. And AI is also expected to accelerate as adoption widens and new products are developed, contributing an estimated $2 billion directly to the UK GDP in 2026. In terms of how this is impacting the profession, the Law Society of England and Wales has highlighted that the legal sector brings together all parts of the economy and contributes itself £60 billion annually. In 2025, the legal sector continued to grow, putting the profession in a strong position heading into 2026. However, it's definitely not a uniform picture. So, accounting firm Crow's research shows that there's a growing divide between the city and regional firms. So, city firms enjoyed a 12.12% rise in partner profits in 2025, while regional firms saw a 10.82% drop, hit harder by, for example, rising salaries, office costs, and infrastructure spending. Meanwhile, NatWest's survey also indicated that practice area performance is diverging. So, private client, residential property, and real estate teams are reporting stronger fee growth, while litigation, family law, and transactional work were identified as more challenging areas in early 2026. So, I think it's true to say that as the economic landscape evolves, firms can expect demand to shift unevenly across departments, with some practice areas naturally strengthening during downturns, while others grow quieter.
And another interesting point to touch on is the state of the courts. What's going on there and why should future lawyers pay attention to it?
So the courts are facing significant pressure as 2026 begins. Court backlogs hit 373,084 in Magistrates Court as of the 18th of December 2025. So these long backlogs are due to a number of factors, such as out-of-date infrastructure and a limited number of barristers in certain areas like criminal law. So in terms of what changes are on the horizon, Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy proposed several reforms in 2025, such as reducing the number of jury trials and increasing out-of-court settlements like cautions. And these kind of ideas stem from a review led by former Judge Sir Brian Levinson. However, the extent to which these proposed reforms will alleviate stress is yet to be seen. There was a new report by the Institute for the Government which found that although judge-only trials are around 20% faster on average, Lammy's proposal would save less than 2% of total time across Crown courts, which suggests that these measures will only have a limited impact on existing backlogs. There's a number of other reforms in the works. So in January 2026, the government confirmed that 4 former Nightingale courts will become permanent. The online procedure rules, which were consulted on between December and January, also aim to modernise and simplify digital processes across civil, family, and tribunal cases. As these rules come into force, lawyers will need to adapt to more streamlined digital-first processes, and this will bring both challenges and opportunities. Firms and chambers will need to stay on top of procedural updates, build digital capability, and think carefully about access to justice issues.
And of course, we can't avoid talking about AI and technology. They're everywhere right now, and it's a topic we should all pay close attention to. So what's new this year, and how are businesses navigating the risks and opportunities?
It's definitely true that AI is having a really big impact on all businesses. So advances in automation tools and data-driven systems are influencing how every business operates. But at the same time, regulation is also a big topic of conversations. So the EU AI Act began to be enforced in phases from August 2024, while the UK is taking a more sectoral approach. So that means splitting regulation across multiple regulators rather than a single AI authority. As AI becomes a crucial part of many business functions, lawyers are definitely going to need to keep pace. They will be expected to understand not only the legal risks associated with AI, but also how clients are using tools in practice. Additionally, law firms and chambers are also figuring out how to use AI themselves, and AI literacy has become an essential skill for lawyers. So according to a Thomson Reuters report, lawyers are already using AI most heavily in efficiency-driven areas such as document review, legal research, document summarization, and drafting briefs. Of course, obviously, everyone is not sprinting to AI just yet. The survey also found that accuracy and data security is still a widespread concern for many firms and lawyers. So this means that uptake is going to vary from firm to firm, and this is the same across businesses. So lawyers will be advising a mix of clients, some experimenting with cutting-edge tools, while others are taking it slow, all of them looking for clear guidance on how to innovate safely. So I definitely think it's an important area for aspiring lawyers to follow.
Thanks so much, Ellie. That's a fantastic roundup. And if you want to explore these topics in more detail, you can read Ellie's full feature on Law Careers Net, the link to which will be in the podcast description. So make sure to check that out and use it in your research. But Ellie, if the listeners want to find out more about, commercial awareness and how to boost that, what other resources are there?
So if you want to boost your commercial awareness further, I'd highly recommend taking a look at our dedicated Commercial Awareness Hub, which is sponsored by Mayor Brown. And for more detail on specific commercial issues, check out our Commercial Questions, which are weekly articles written by law firms.
Thanks, Ellie. And again, the links to both of these will be in the podcast description as well. And thank you to everyone for listening to today's episode. Make sure to check out all our other episodes across all the main streaming platforms, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.